when your cinephilia drives you just a little wild. This is Histoire du CINÉMA.
Wait, where did you see this? Oh, you got it from Videotheque.
Yeah.
2 discs, right? On 2 DVDs?
Yes.
Yeah. I got it from Vidiots.
Shout out to our video store friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Seen and Heard.
Hi.
This is the podcast all about the Sight and Sound greatest films of all time list. I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
We're back on the list. Well, we've been on the list this whole time, but we're ping-ponging. And these are the... What number is this on the list, Jackie?
This is number 48.
Okay.
On the 2012.
2012.
So we're in the middle section now, and that's why the ping-ponging is a little weird, because they're just like 2 films apart.
Yeah.
But we knew this would happen when we took on the ping pong.
Yeah. When we took on the ping pong.
But it's number 78 on 2022 list, so it has fallen like 30 spaces.
But still on the top 100. But no Cassavetes.
Yeah, I was going to say Cassavetes. Actually, I was thinking about this.
My God.
No
Mein
Cassavetes.
Gott.
But there's an episode in this that is dedicated to Cassavetes.
Yeah. Before we get into this, Jackie.
What is this,
have you
by the way?
Oh, Histoire du CINÉMA.
Nice.
Before we talk about this opus, what have you been watching that's not this 4-hour monstrosity?
It was more than 4 hours, wasn't it?
I think it's a little more.
I feel like I've been watching this for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. It's been 1 week, and it's the only thing I have watched, I think.
Wow.
I don't think I've watched anything else.
Oh, okay.
Maybe like an episode of Twin Peaks. I did see Thing. I'm Still Here.
How was that?
Best international feature winner. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. And then, I forgot your disc. I watched Best in Show.
Oh, don't worry.
I watched it.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it's what's not to like.
Yeah, it's so
really funny.
I was so shocked you hadn't seen it. I was like, I basically forced you to take it home with you.
When I saw that disc cover, I was like, this is completely alien to me. I don't know what this is.
Oh my gosh.
But what a cast. What a cast.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so funny.
Yeah.
What have you been watching? This.
Yeah, this and I don't know. Like I rewatched Death Becomes Her. I hadn't seen that in a long time. It's so good. It's really good.
I love it so much.
I saw a movie called Gwen and the Book of Sand, which is an animated film. It's Czech or Russian. Oh, it's French. I think it's French, actually. It's good. It was good. And I rewatched The Blair Witch Project because it had been a while. And I just like kind of put it on. Because sometimes I'm looking, especially later at night, I want like a short film. So I like look for 90 minutes and under. And I was like, I haven't seen Blair Witch in a long time. And just put it on. Sometimes I'll put movies on wwithout consulting Molly, and then she's like, "Wait, what are we watching?"
Oh,
I was like, "Don't worry about it."
And she watched it,
and it popped up. She's like, "Oh God," she's like bad vibes,
especially right before bed.
But then she stayed.
Not fair.
You've seen it, right?
No.
Oh, you'd be fine. You'd be fine. But yeah, it holds up. It holds up well as a piece of filmmaking. It's not. I don't know.
It's like found footage, right?
Yeah, and it was one of the pioneers. Like, it's not the first. I think the first is probably like Cannibal Holocaust in the 70s, but this was like the one that started the boom in the early 2000s and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's really well made, and all the actors are really natural in it, and I like the movie. It's not particularly scary anymore, but that's also
was when you first saw
not the barometer of a horror film. I don't think should be is how scary it is. Yeah, when I first saw it, I saw it like shortly after it came out, so I was like 12 or 13.
Oh, that's scary.
And I was like, guys, to my friends, I was like, guys, do you dare me to watch this by myself at midnight with headphones on? And they're like, yeah, I dare you. So I did it. On like my 12-inch TV.
It's so funny with wired headphones.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, that's me.
Great.
But I think we should just stop beating around the bush and get into this week's film.
I'm not beating around no bush.
That's me.
It would appear as though you are the one.
From 1998, this is Jean-Luc Godard's Histoire du CINÉMA.
Histoire du cinéma was released in 1998. It was written and directed by Jean-Luc Godard. Cinematography by Pierre Bingelli and Hervé Duhamel. Using countless cinema clips, artworks, and some original recorded material, Jean-Luc Godard postulates on the purpose and meaning of cinema. In particular, he fixates on the violence of the 20th century, the century in which cinema took full flight, and how issues of war, intolerance, violence, sex, and beauty are dealt with in cinema. Through voiceover narration, he reads quotations, shares his musings, while also playing sound bites from movies, using famous scores and even pop songs. The film is divided into 4 chapters, with 2 parts to each chapter, totaling in 266 minutes and 8 episodes, if you will. They are as follows. 1A, all the histories. 1B, a single history. 2A, only cinema. 2B, deadly beauty. 3A, the coin of the absolute. 3B, a new wave. 4A, the control of the universe. And 4B, the signs among us. The film stars Jean-Luc Godard as himself, but also features Juliette Binoche and Julie Delpy reading. Godard started working on the project in the late 80s. He edited it himself, and finally it was completed in 1998. The film was screened out of competition at the 1988 Cannes Film Festival. And then 9 years later, it was screened in the Un certain regard section at the 1997 festival. So it's like, it was, he started it in the late 80s. So I don't really understand how that... Oh, and then in 1998, it was completed.
Yeah.
So I guess he screened like whatever he had so far
Right.
earlier, and then later the rest of it. It was released by Olive Films on DVD in 2011.
R.I.P. too. I think they're no longer.
Oh.
I have some discs from them. I think my Johnny Guitar is from Olive Films. And my Quiet Man is from, maybe.
You have a Quiet Man?
Yeah, actually, it's either from Olive or Eureka. But yeah, I do have Quiet Man.
You like that movie?
I do. Do you?
No.
Oh, really? I mean, it's beautiful.
Sure. But it's just so annoying.
I mean, I don't love it. It's not like my favorite movie, but I watch
Speaking
it
of St. Patrick's Day
every few
up.
days. Exactly.
Okay, the title thing. The film is always presented by its French title because it's a pun. The parentheses around the S makes it plural, so histoire means both stories and history, depending on the context you use it in. So that's why sometimes there's parentheses around the S and sometimes there's not. So there are various meanings to the title, which include the history of cinema, histories of cinema, the story of cinema, and stories of cinema. So that's what's going on with the title. That's all the specs I have.
Yeah. Wait, I expected a more in-depth plot synopsis, Jackie. Can you please provide me with the play-by-play?
Oh my God. So plot point A is... The all is lost moment is...
Oh, boy.
Where do we even...
This is our 4th Godard on the show.
Yeah, what have we done so far?
We've done Breathless. We've done Contempt. Le Mépris. Is that how you pronounce it?
Mm-hmm.
And we've done, what's it? Pierre Le Fou.
Yeah.
So if people have been longtime listeners, actually, I don't even think you need to be a longtime listener to know that I don't have a good track record with Godard. And I think of all the revered filmmakers, he is my least favorite. I think that most people know that by now. There's even a lot of reviews that have mentioned my dislike of Godard. Actually, which brings me to the point.
I'm gonna go crazy after this.
And I'm going to do this right now, actually, because I'm really avoiding putting off this movie. I wanted to read a very quick new review we got on the podcast.
Go for it.
Normally I do this at the beginning, but I forgot. So someone just left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And by the way, guys, like when you guys leave nice reviews like this, like it means the world to us. We read these, we cherish them, we send them to each other. We send little emojis back and forth to each other about how cute the reviews are.
Greg frames them.
I frame them. They're framed in this room here. But someone, 5 stars and said, great podcasts on great films. Stumbled upon the podcast after watching Jean Dielman and have been enjoying all the episodes I've listened to. There are a lot of movie podcasts, but not many are dedicated to old films. So I'm really glad you guys are doing the God's work. A lot of research goes into each episode, but you made the discussion so entertaining and inspiring. Might watch more classics just to hear you guys chat about it. Haha.
That's so lovely.
Yeah. I mean, that's that's the whole sort of reason we started the show too, is like, I mean, these movies are canonized because they're on the Sight and Sound list, but I think a lot of modern audiences might not necessarily have seen, you know, at least some of these. So I think that,
I mean, I hadn't seen a lot of them.
Yeah. Anyway, back to this movie.
Back to your initial thoughts.
Oh my God. So I don't like Godard. And it's not even a stretch to say, I mean, I loathe him. I like Breathless okay. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I get why it's canonized, and I'm fine with it. I like Vive sa vie a lot. That's my favorite of his that I've seen. Everything else I strongly dislike, pretty much. And some of his films are some of my most hated movies I've ever seen. And if you want to hear me go off, listen to our episode on Contempt. Listen to our episode on Pierre Le Fou. And I'm tired of bringing this energy, Jackie. I'm really tired because I don't like being a hater.
I know.
Who
does?
As a film fan, you want to come in and just praise movies. But I feel like we've had a good streak where the last run of movies we've done, they've all been really great. So you're bound to hit a roadblock. But this is a new thing for this show. I've never done this on Seen and Heard before. I didn't finish this.
Wow.
I saw half of it. And I said, my life is worth more than this. My life is worth more. My time is worth more. This is my new least favorite movie we've done on the show. And not only is it my least favorite movie, but it somehow makes me hate Godard even more. I think this is a completely pretentious piece of filmmaking. If this is what cinema is, I don't want any part of it. That's what this movie made me feel like. If this is what cinema is, I don't want to be near it. I don't want to have anything to do with it.
I don't think that's what it's implying.
I'm saying,
I don't think you need to renounce.
I just think it's insufferable garbage. And I think here's what happened. I got to the point where Godard is sitting shirtless at his typewriter.
When I was watching that, I was like, oh my God, Greg is going to freak out.
He's sitting shirtless.
He's wearing one of those visors.
He's wearing a visor,
light.
And he's like musing off camera.
That's the whole movie,
while
though.
Smoking a cigar.
Always a cigar.
And I was like, okay, this is the final straw for me, and I turned it off. I hate this man.
Which part does it happen in? I don't remember.
It's like I got like 2 hours in.
So you only watched the first 2 parts?
No, I watched to 3 or at least I saw at least 3.
Did you finish the first disc?
Almost the first disc. I think I turned it off in episode 4. But the first 2 episodes are by far the longest. They're like almost an hour.
Each one is almost an hour.
And then the rest are like 25 minutes. So the thing about it that's so sad to me is that cinema to Godard seems to only be an intellectual exercise. There's no feeling in this whatsoever. I got no feeling, no love for cinema, no joy of cinema. It's all just a purely intellectual exercise. And I think his editing in this is absolutely atrocious. He should be fucking embarrassed. This is like a movie that someone threw together on the early days of like digital editing, like iMovie, bullshit, shitty transitions, shitty strobing effects of different clips on top
honestly,
of other.
If you have epilepsy, I don't think you should watch this.
No,
movie.
Absolutely not.
There should be a warning.
I would bet too. Even a lot of people listening to this episode probably haven't seen this because, like, I don't think
anyone.
There's nothing for us to spoil.
No one on my Letterboxd has logged this except Aaron.
Oh
Hi,
yeah,
Aaron.
I think he gave it a heart too.
I don't remember.
There's a few Letterboxd friends that logged this, and
really? I had a feeling you weren't going to finish it.
But
then I was like,
Jackie.
No, I'll do it. It's for the podcast.
And then this is the first time I've ever jumped ship for the show. I could not give another second of my life to this man, this monster. And I hate everything he stands for. And he's also like a terrible person too. So it's not even like, oh, he's a nice guy. Like, I hate his movies. I hate him. I don't care what he thinks about anything. In the Agnes Varda movie.
Oh yeah, she tries to see him. Yeah. I just think he was like way in.
He's such a narcissist.
Like kind of, yeah.
In the most most disgusting way, and I think someone like Agnes Varda is 100 times more talented than this fuck.
Yeah, I probably agree.
And I just so at a certain point last night, I jumped ship, and there's this movie I'd been meaning to watch. It's a noir from 1950 called Gun Crazy. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
It's kind of like the Bonnie and Clyde story. It has Jean Dahl and
Probably featured in this, honestly.
I think it probably is.
Was.
For like half a second.
For sure.
Peggy Cummings and John Dahl. And so I put that on. I turned this off. I put that on. And oh my God, I remembered why I loved movies in the first place watching that movie. Because this movie made me hate movies.
It didn't make me hate movies. It just made me dread my time watching this while I could be watching movies.
Yes, exactly. Let's get to you. I've talked long enough.
No, that's okay. I saw that coming because I even texted you. I was like, "How's it going?" I was waiting for you to say I gave up.
You texted me like 5 times, being like, over the course of a week, like, "How's it going with Histoire de CINÉMA?" And I was like, "Oh boy, if Jackie's checking in on me this much, it must be really bad." Because I started it like 2 or 3 days ago, fully intending I was like, "Oh, watch half of it one day, half the other day," and I had the time to do it too. It's not even like I left it to the last minute and couldn't finish it. I just like made a point to stop it, to get off this fucking train. Anyway, yes, back to you.
Yeah, I've been watching it for a week now. I think I watched the first episode last Friday when I rented it.
Yeah.
But I've also been really busy, and so anytime I did get the chance to watch something in the last week, it was this. So I'm really tired.
Like, and you're a Godard fan. He's not your favorite, but you like him.
I always like to say that, like, oh, that's your boy. No, of all the French New Wave people, it's like Romer and Varda for me. Like those are my people.
Yeah.
Obviously, I love some Godard movies.
Yeah.
But this was not what I was expecting, because I really was expecting last Friday when I put in the first disc, like, that it was going to be this like examination using film clips about, how cinema came to be and where it's going, and just kind of him showing off his knowledge and his love.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, like, I'm pretty unfamiliar with the later radical work of Godard, but
I know people don't like it generally.
What I didn't realize that this was going to be that. I thought this was like, okay, it's the 90s. He's like done now. He's just going to make this, and it's a reflection of all those years.
Yeah, but he was even making films up until his death, like in 3D and stuff.
Yeah. So I think he's a bit of a mad scientist. Like,
I mean, it makes him sound more interesting than he is.
But I think that's what happened to him. I think his love of cinema drove him nuts. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, there's a madness in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I think you probably benefit immensely if you speak French, but I also think he was interested in overwhelming us, because like, I don't know about you, but like, it was just too much. I just couldn't, because I was reading and I was watching and I was hearing, and it was too much. Like,
it's not watchable.
It's not watchable. And many critics said that. So I have some critiques over here where it's like saying they're comparing it to James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake, which is also this like really dense work that like you need to know everything about everything to understand, and it's like unreadable. People say it's unreadable.
Yeah.
That's how critics were describing this, but not in a bad way necessarily. Like someone said, Jean-Luc Godard took 30 years to compose his Histoire. It might just take as long to absorb it. That was David Kerr who said that. But yeah, and it's like, they're comparing it again to Finnegan's Wake, difficulty and playfulness. I just think that, like, very hard to watch in 1 week, very dense, and I think nearly impossible to like watch in 1 week, absorb it, and report on it.
Yeah.
So I feel very helpless right now.
Yeah.
Is the word I'm like searching for. I know it's intentional. I know that it's very intentional to just be overwhelmed, and this is unwatchable, and like take what you will from it. So all I can really do at this point is just note some things that stood out to me, because I have no idea what the fuck I watched.
Yes.
But I expected to know just a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At least a little, but I don't. I really don't. It's like sometimes I found patterns, but then I was just thrown completely off by a random clip of Hitler.
Yes. Or like dead people and or like Victorian porn.
I get it. It's about post-war, and it's about the occupation of France, and the millions and millions of people who died during World War II. And obviously that affected him so much. I mean, he lived through it, and I get it, but I just fail to see how it's like it can be related to every single thing in cinema.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm probably misinterpreting it. Again, first of all, I don't think the subtitles were even that great.
No, the subtitles were not. Yeah.
And so I'm sure if you speak French And probably if you are French, you relate to this much, much more. Because he's talking about like resistance leaders at some point that I had to Google. I was like, who is this person? And then I find out they were resistance leaders who were executed. And you know what I mean? It's like, it's a very, I feel like it's almost a niche where I thought it was going to be an overall look at cinema. It's a very niche look at cinema.
Well, it's a look inside Godard's head.
That too. And this mad scientist.
Solely. It's not even about film necessarily. And I think too, he made this for himself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the last one, you didn't even get to the last episode, but he dedicates every episode to either a filmmaker, or an actor, or a critic. I looked up every single person, by the way. So if you guys have any questions about who anyone is, I won't go through it here, but email me. I have a 6-page document in front of me.
I couldn't be bothered.
But obviously one of them's Cassavetes. That was the big one. That was the only one I recognized, I think. And then at the end, the last episode is... Are you ready for this, Greg?
Yeah.
Is dedicated to... Anne-Marie Mayville. She's a Swiss filmmaker and Godard appeared in one of her films, actually. It's dedicated to her and for myself, he wrote.
Of course. Episode. Would you expect any different?
But I'm kind of sad you didn't watch the last two, because the last two, I think, were the best. Because the second to last one is called Control of the Universe. And it's a lot about Hitchcock. And it's kind of about how he said, like, where Julius Caesar and Napoleon and Adolf Hitler failed, Hitchcock succeeded because he controlled he created a whole universe and controlled it until his death. He also called Hitchcock was the only cursed poet to become successful, which I really like.
Mm-hmm.
The last two are pretty good. The last one ends with something that's very beautiful, actually, and it's my favorite sound.
Oh, so we'll hear about it soon?
Yes.
Okay.
But before I even get into it, can we just talk about how many Sight and Sound movies were featured in this?
Oh, yeah, lots.
Which is amazing, because I kind of like that. I got 35. I counted 35 of them, and I can go through them if you want.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
Okay.
This is just your own counting?
Half the list. Yeah. So the beautiful thing is that the first image is Rear Window.
Yeah.
Which was the movie that we did last week.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty amazing. Ping pong.
Yeah.
You guys know the drill. Rear Window, Rules of the Game, Greed or Debt, Atalante, or is it L'Atalante? I think it's L'Atalante. Shoah, Metropolis, The Grand Illusion, M, Psycho, and some score from Psycho is featured as well as clips. The Magnificent Ambersons, Un Chien Andalou, Vertigo, Night of the Hunter, Persona, Journey to Italy, Contempt, Bicycle Thieves, Pierre Le Fou, The Leopard, Touch of Evil, Battleship Potemkin, The Passion of Joan of Arc, The 400 Blows, Sunrise, Song of Two Humans, Sunset Boulevard, Color of Pomegranates, Pickpocket, The Searchers, Intolerance, The General, Modern Times, Citizen Kane, and Madame de.
And we've done all those movies.
We've done all those movies.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Like it felt good to when a Sight and Sound movie popped up. It really did feel good.
Yeah.
And it's good that we're doing this towards the end. It's really awesome.
We should really just turn this episode into a celebration of ourselves.
Yeah. Hey, I'm celebrating myself for finishing this.
Yeah, you should.
And oh my God, did you catch the Rancho Notorious clip?
Yes.
In the first episode,
I
died.
Where they're riding the guys on their backs.
So we did Rancho Notorious as a s'mores.
Yeah.
And that was also in there where they're riding the guys on their backs. Exactly.
Yeah.
So funny. So funny. So the first episode is kind of like very much, it's called All the Histories. And I felt like that one was kind of just like a combination of anything he was going to talk about later. It's kind of like a summary.
Yeah.
And it was very much geared towards like the war, and there was like Lubitsch's To Be or Not to Be in there a bunch, and talking about how the living dead of today are built on yesterday's world and their thoughts are from the past and stuff. See, like there were moments in this. It was a chore. Don't get me wrong. It was hard. This was like really hard to watch, and I'm tired.
I think our most impenetrable movie that we've done
gotta be this.
But also, by saying impenetrable, it almost sounds like I'm being like I'm throwing flowers at it when I think there are good thoughts in here, but I think this is not a coherent work.
I agree. I'll agree with that.
Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, so that's kind of the first episode. I'm just like skimming through now. And then it talks about the cinema of news and like how there's blood and tears. And just as we wash the sidewalk when it's too late, the cinema of news clears the blood and tears. But the army has already fired at the masses. It's this first one is very much about, I think, the violence of Europe in the 20th century. Oh, but he does say something interesting. So he says, we've forgotten this town. It's white walls and olive trees, but we remember Picasso's Guernica. So it's kind of talking about like the art over the actual destruction of the war. Like we think more about the art, which I thought was interesting. I'm also working on something about Guernica right now, so it did stand out to me. But yeah, that's the first one. That's the first one.
What was the... Oh, sorry.
I also just want to say that I don't think the titles of each, like those should be a clue to what it's going to be about. Not at all. To any of them except Control of the Universe, which I mentioned.
Right.
And I guess A New Wave. Because in A New Wave, it's talking a little bit about
Cassavetes.
The French New Wave.
Oh, yes.
But not even. I'm looking at the notes right now. Not even.
Really? He just wanted to make a film that led up to himself. Then I came in and I made Breathless.
Well, there's someone. Did you get to the one where that guy's interviewing him about? There was another episode where he talked about the New Wave more than in the actual New Wave episode. So that's why I was confused.
The one where the guy's interviewing him and every line is like repeated or like heavy reverb for no fucking reason.
He always does that.
It's like a child who's just discovered editing tools for the first time and it's just doing every dumb fucking thing he can do.
I love. Now I'm moving on to the second one, which is A Single History. That one is for John Cassavetes. Have you ever seen A Duel in the Sun?
No.
So that's that Jennifer Jones movie that popped up a bunch where she's like shot and she's crawling. So my grandpa loved that movie. It's like a soapy Western, this like love triangle, two brothers and this girl. And then at the end, her and her like love, spoiler, is Gregory Peck. And then they shoot each other. They kill each other. But like at the last minute, he's like, I gotta hold you one more time. And she's like crawling in the mud, even though he just killed her and she shot him. She killed him too. He's dying. He dies, then she dies, but they shoot each other.
Oh.
So that clip kept popping up. So I
was wondering what that was from.
I love that. I love that ending. It's so bonkers. You have to just watch the ending. Watch the whole movie, but that ending is like burned in my memory since I saw my grandpa watching it one day. I was like, what is this? So that clip that kept popping up when it was talking about like guns and violence and the history of loneliness and loneliness of history and yeah, that's a single history right there. But he also says something funny in this one where it says their names could have been Lampshade, but it was Lumiere. And he was talking about the Lumiere brothers.
Right.
Which I thought was funny. Also, what is that noise where it's like, the
typewriter.
But it's not a type. That doesn't
like
sound like a typewriter, though. Because like there was typewriter where it's like, clunk, 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 and then it was like, do, do, do. Like, what was that noise?
Like ticker tape or something. I don't know. But like that was running through the whole fucking thing.
The whole
and I was like,
thing.
what is he saying? Film is like a typewriter. Okay, very deep thought.
That's
very deep.
Also, in that one, you have the little montage about a budding. And it's like the Splendor in the Grass scene. And then it's like Monica popping on the screen and Lolita popping on the screen. Even though I think Lolita is like vastly misinterpreted. Like, it's not about a girl's sexuality.
No,
at all.
Not. No.
But people love to say, like Lolita. I was like, that's not what Lolita is. But
no.
Anyway, but yeah, I do love Splendor in the Grass. So I love that clip. Like there were some moments where I was like, oh, I haven't seen that in so long. And that's so good. But it's the clip. And then like it's not cohesive at all. I agree with you.
Well, and I think too, he's making references to art, to music, but like this stuff happens so quickly on the screen. It's like only for Godard to like. I
know exactly. That's the problem. Like I was like scrambling to get some meaning.
Yes.
But sometimes I did like, okay, he showed like Rebel Without a Cause while it was like Pasolini's Gospel of Matthew, I think it is. Like some audio from that over like Rebel Without a Cause. And it's like, I thought that was cool. But like, it just was so random. Everything else
felt so random and scattershot. And
sometimes there were moments like that though where I was like, that's cool.
He kept slowing films down and then going frame by frame and pausing, going back, going forward, going back, going forward, frame by frame. And I was like, what the fuck point do you think you're making, dude? Like, what do you think you're doing here? Like, this is some profound piece of art? Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Also, it just reminded me, and this sounds like a compliment, it's not. The whole movie felt like a Gaspar Noé credit sequence where it's just like words flashing on the screen, strobing, flashing. But like it works for a credit sequence, but it doesn't work for a 4-hour fucking history of film, does it?
But he has some points about cinema. Like he talks about like on the eve of the 20th century, technology decided to reproduce life. So we invented photography and cinema. But since morals were still strong, and we would take everything from life, even its identity, we mourned this killing, and it's the mourning colors, black and white, that photography was born.
I think maybe he should have just written a book.
This should have been a book.
Yeah.
He also mentions, I remember, like close-ups came from the king's face on like a coin. Like I thought like that was interesting. Like let's get more of like not generalizations, but observations about cinema itself.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Like, he said something else that's kind of sweet. He said, cinema lets Orpheus turn around without killing Eurydice, which I thought was really sweet.
Whatever.
You're just like, your hands are folded, your arms are folded, and you're just looking at me like, oh, man. But hey, Julie Delpy, when she came on the screen, I was like, let's go.
I felt bad for her.
No. She's having the time of her life. Come on. She was a young actress showing up in this Godard opus, if you will. I loved her in it. I thought she was so good.
No, I felt bad for her. And I felt like she showed up at his house and he's just like, okay, sit in the bath, do this, just talk, read my words. And she seemed slightly uncomfortable doing it too. She's just like
I think
rolling her eyes.
I think you're reading into it. We should ask her.
We should ask her.
He said something though, also in part 3 that I think you'd like. Did you watch it when he said, cinema was the only way of realizing that I have my own story as me. Without cinema, I wouldn't exist. There would be no me.
He shouldn't have existed to begin with.
I'm dead.
I'm not interested in any of Godard's self-mythologizing at all.
Sure. Then you're going to hate my favorite sound. You're going to hate it. But yeah, what else did I like? Again, like it's so hard you can't talk. This is a book.
Yeah.
So it's like very hard for me in like one day to just come up with thoughts.
Anything meaningful to say about it, yeah.
There is meaningful stuff in it though, but it's just like we said, it's just so scattered and random that it makes it very hard to absorb and very hard to find meaning sometimes.
It just plays like a pretentious film bros YouTube film essay.
Yeah, but those are
at least competently, exactly. Those are competently put together. I huge recommend. There was a book which I didn't read, and then it was made into like a 10-hour miniseries by the critic Mark Cousins called "The Story of Film and Odyssey." Watch that. Don't watch this fucking movie.
That's what I thought this was gonna be.
He's a critic, and he goes through and starts at the beginning, starts at the invention of the camera, whatever. And actually, you know where he stops? And this is made, at this point, probably close to 20 years ago. He stops at Moulin Rouge as being like Moulin Rouge is the modern example of like all-encompassing cinema, of like using all these traditions of it's silent film, it's Bollywood, it's this, it's that. And it is, but it ends with this huge praise of like Moulin Rouge.
Oh, hell yeah.
But no, it's fantastic and it's meditative and there's a lot of thoughtful stuff in there. Some people can't stand his voice. He has this very interesting kind of like cadence that some people find off-putting. I didn't mind it, but yeah, really insightful. And he goes through, and it's not some like, super flashy, like this movie was made, then this movie was made. It's like, it's more meditative, and he's very choosy with his clips. Like he's not trying to show you everything, but he's getting some of the key work, and it's well worth your like 10 hours or whatever. And it's like broken up into, episodes.
Some theme in each episode.
Yes, exactly.
It was very hard to find themes.
So I would very heartily recommend that over this fucking movie.
Oh my gosh. You know what he did say, though, about the founding of cinema? He said that Kodak made its fortune with X-rays, not Snow White. And then it made sense that the movie industry was first sold to the death industry, is what he said.
Wow, that's so deep.
But then he said, how many scripts are there about newborns? How many scripts are there about blooming flowers? Again, it's like he's mad. Like, I think
you nailed it. Yeah.
Lifetime of justified anger about like the 20th century, but somehow relating it to cinema, and like, because cinema is all he knows. And
well, no, I don't think so. Because again, there's so many allusions in this to everything else outside of cinema.
Art, yeah.
In the world, what's happening in the world. I think you're right. I mean, I think he's, at this point, he's a madman.
Yeah.
And again, it makes him seem more interesting than he is. But the fact that, without naming any names, I know some people who are very delusional. I think working in this industry, you just know people who are delusional. And I know someone who's outside of this industry, but thinks that they're inside this industry and has like a YouTube channel where they make these shorts and they make songs and they have like a book out. And the whole thing is very, very bleak. And I got that sense of that from Godard here, like in the way that he's put this together. Him with his shirt off, smoking a cigar with the visor on, staring off into the distance. I almost feel bad for him if I had any like semblance of like empathy for him in my body, which I don't. But he's totally lost it here, I think. It's just like, I don't know if it's cinema that's driven him mad, because there's so many people who lived to a ripe old age where cinema did not drive them mad.
No, I don't think so. I mean, he had very like obviously very like radicalized politics, especially like towards the end of his life.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's like cinema drove him mad. I think it's just like the century drove him mad.
Right. And
he's taking it out on cinema, maybe.
Well, good thing he didn't live to see now what's happening now in the world.
Right. He does have a nice ode to Italian movies, though, in part 5 that you missed. Like, he basically said, the Russian made murder movies. The American made advertisement movies. This was like post-war. The British did what they always did in cinema. Nothing. Germany had no cinema. Not anymore. And then he said it was only Italy that like resisted American cinema after that. And then it went into a big montage about like post-war Italian realist movies. There was the song playing in the background about Italy. It was good. I like that. And of course, The Leopard was in that. Rome Open City was the big one he was talking about. And I believe Journey to Italy was in that one too, or maybe it was Stromboli. But and then for the New Wave episode, I guess it's all these movies that they just loved, like Touch of Evil, Battleship Potemkin, Passion of Joan of Arc, 400 Blows, obviously, Sunrise. But then he talks about Virginia Woolf a lot in that one. And it's like, what is Virginia Woolf doing in the episode about the New Wave? I mean, she was a modernist, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like so much information. I love Virginia Woolf.
Yeah.
And I loved everything. It was like, it was quotes by her and stuff. And I'm like, sick, but like, okay.
It felt very stream of consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
But not in a good way.
I agree. It was very hard to watch.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't be. I mean, maybe it should be that hard to watch. I don't know.
No, it shouldn't fucking be.
I just don't know. Okay? But I like the Hitchcock episode, which is episode 7. He said people won't remember Cézanne's apple, but they'll remember the lighter from Strangers on a Train.
Okay.
And then, part 8, the last one is just called The Signs Among Us. Couldn't tell you what that means. I've watched the whole thing. I can't tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But he says something in this one that is kind of interesting. The only big problem of cinema seems to be where and why start a shot and where and why end it.
Sure.
Oh my God.
That seems obvious to me, but I guess.
All right, that's all I got. Sight and sound?
I didn't pick it yet. I can't be
You don't
bothered.
have any?
No. There's nothing in here that I like seeing clips of Night of the Hunter.
Cool. That counts. That counts. Mine is, it actually happens, both my Sight and Sound happen in part 8. There's a clip from The Green Ray which is the Romer movie.
Mhm.
And he had added like a strip of green like light on it, which was fun. Not in the scene, like it's not the green light from the movie. It's he did it, which I was like, okay, this is cool. So that's my favorite site.
That's the thing. There would be like one cool thing every like 30 minutes, and then just like 29 minutes of absolute horseshit to
of
wait
getting
through.
like, what do people call it? Like ear raped?
What?
You know, when there's like loud noises.
Oh yeah, like assaulted sonically. I don't. Yeah. There would occasionally be I can't even remember now.
You do get it.
He would play a song, even sometimes like a pop song, over a piece of film, and I'd be like, "Oh, interesting," and then 2 seconds in, he would stop.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
But my favorite sound is the last thing he says in the whole thing.
Si un homme traversait le paradis en songe, qu'il reçut une fleur comme preuve de son passage, et qu'à son réveil, il trouva cette fleur dans ses mains. Que dire alors? J'étais cet homme.
Translated, he's saying, if a man walked through paradise in his dreams and received a flower as a sign of his visit and found the flower in his hand when he woke up, what can we say? I was this man. Because he talks about cinema being a dream factory.
Yeah.
And so like to be able to turn his dreams into a tangible thing, that's pretty sick.
Sure.
I've also had this weird dream once where I was on the Titanic, but it was like the movie version of the Titanic. And I knew this boat was going to sink, but no one else did.
Uh-huh.
And then this is all in a dream, by the way. And I woke up in my dream and I was like, oh my God, like I have to like save the Titanic when I go to sleep tonight. And so I had to take like, I don't know where I got like that really heavy duty tape, you know, the one that they like, oh, you can cover up a hole and like water won't fall.
Uh-huh.
I got that in the dream, held onto it while I went to sleep, woke up in the dream in the Titanic again and tried to repair the boat.
Wow. Wait, how old were you?
Not long ago. It was not long ago.
What?
So when he said this about waking up with the flower from your dream, I vibed with it. I loved it. I love that quote. And I think it is really what it is about. I think that is a great description of what it's like to be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my favorite sound.
I think too, it's an interesting story about you.
The dream.
Yeah.
So weird.
That's
like dream
something.
Within a dream twice. Really weird.
See, I can't, as far as I can remember, I often don't remember my dreams, but I don't remember any dreams within dreams. I
write it down immediately. If it's anything interesting, I just write it down the second I wake up.
So you have like a bedside notebook?
No, I do it on my phone.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Like Jerry in Seinfeld.
Yeah.
He keeps that one notepad next to his bed.
Yeah, and he loses the joke. One thing that rubs me the wrong way is that, I mean, I guess everyone is allowed their own interpretation of cinema and their own journey and whatever. But there's such a, this is so highbrow to the point of like being frustrating because he doesn't really acknowledge exploitation cinema outside of, and again, I only saw half of it, but going by what you just said too, there's like the early porn from like the 19-teens or whatever that he shows a few clips of.
Yeah.
But there's so much sort of genre and exploitation cinema that I feel like has legitimate merit that he just doesn't even acknowledge.
This was
exists.
very much the Sight and Sound list.
Yeah.
And so now we know what movies he voted for.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. How does one like that porn? I was very confused because like I remember in The Brutalist he goes to watch porn, remember?
Yeah.
Who has though? Like, is there an archive of like Victorian porn?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And you used to, I forget what they're called. Not Nickelodeons, but the things that the machines with the binoculars where you would look into them.
Where it would be a nickel.
Put a nickel, yeah. a lot of those would be like a woman taking her shirt off, or like, you know, so it's been around since the camera has been around. People have been undressing in front of it.
So fascinating.
It is fascinating, yeah. And especially, I don't have like an extensive knowledge of it, but I know especially like the stag films of like the 40s and 50s it started to become like a big thing. And then by the 70s, it was like the porn industry in LA was up and running and a huge thing. And like then like it even kind of broke into the mainstream with like Deep Throat and stuff where like regular people went to go see them.
Yeah.
But so yeah, interesting journey. But yeah, the fact that there's so much in there, I don't know, it just felt a little elitist, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's Godard. Like, he is the most pretentious French filmmaker.
This whole movie felt like a test, not just a test, but it felt like a parody of the most pretentious person alive making a video essay.
I can see that. It got to a point where I was like, you know, when you're like suffering, but you're happy about it?
You were happy about it, huh?
Like each night I was like, okay, let's do this. And like pressed play and like just tried so hard to take something away.
Yeah. What would you say the ratio is of things you got from it versus things you suffered through and got nothing from?
Probably like somewhere between 25 to 30% of taking stuff.
That's pretty high. It's higher than me.
I mean,
it's like 1%.
Remember when I texted you and you were like, I was like, if you're high, this was probably an amazing experience.
Or even worse.
Or worse. As it progressed, I was like, actually, I don't know. I was like drinking wine some of the days, though. That helped.
It's just grating. Like, it's like phrases repeated over and over and over. There's flashing text.
French text, sometimes English text, with the English subtitles, with an English clip playing in the background. A lot.
And just these terrible like video editing techniques of like just shitty looking like dissolves and flashes, and it's insufferable. Yeah.
I knew pretty immediately you were going to hate it.
Yes. I'm trying to think of what my most hated movie was before this. Is probably like Contempt and Pierre Le Fou.
No, I feel like we just did one, no?
That I hated? I think it's been a while since I hated something. Oh, and Gertrude.
Gertrude. I was going to say, that's the one.
I fucking hated Gertrude.
Which is so sad because we love Dreyer.
Yeah, you didn't like Gertrude either. You liked it more than I did.
I didn't really like it, honestly.
It was terrible.
It was bad.
But yeah, I mean, I like most movies.
I've liked most of the movies, for sure.
But yeah, add this to my Godard trash heap of movies that should be set on fire and never seen again.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else on this masterpiece, Jackie?
No. Does Pauline?
No, there's no fucking Pauline. You think Pauline's going to sit through this horse shit? No Pauline.
I'm really excited for Letterboxd.
Oh, right. Letterboxd.
Oh, right. Okay, well, someone gave it 4 stars and said, I paused this after the 4th chapter to take a break and a shower, and that's when I learned of David Lynch's passing. It feels tragically appropriate. Who has added as much to a hypothetical next chapter?
Yeah, where's David Lynch in this?
No modern movies.
Except his own.
There were no contemporary movies. I don't know. I haven't seen any of his newer stuff, so I don't know if the clips were, but there was mostly Band of Outsiders and Pierre Le Fou and Contempt.
No, I'm glad those made it in. Half a star, masturbatory. Here's to hoping that the rest of Godard's films are nothing like this, because what a lousy introduction this was.
This is the first movie they're watching of his.
Because it's called History of Cinema. Like people.
No, you should watch it at the end after you've seen the cinema.
Well.
That's bad decision making, I think. 3 stars. In the end, Godard's supposed opus nicely matches his filmic trajectory, or at least aligns with my perceptions. A strong start gets overtaken by pretension and overindulgence. Brilliance exists throughout, but frustration also starts to dominate the arc. And then he goes on to say, even the form becomes less interesting as Godard never as Godard finds fewer ways to manipulate imagery to create meaning. Blah, blah, blah. There are moments of brilliance, though, true to his career, but there is as much frustration as there is joy.
Disagree. It's all frustration. Another half a star. Almost unwatchable. I really thought Godard would exhibit some restraint in documentary filmmaking. Quite the opposite.
It's so funny because he has a line, I saved that one too. He has a line in it saying, no fuss when I was making things up, big fuss when I don't make anything up. Which I think he's referring to his like later, more like political non-fiction films.
Uh-huh.
So it's interesting that that's one of the...
Well, maybe he just got senile.
Oh, my turn? Someone said, thanks, Godard, you melted my brain. Which is true. That's how I felt. But then, like,
not in a good way.
Back for more.
Oh, God. Well, because you had to.
It's true.
Like, if it wasn't for this podcast, would you have finished this?
Probably not. But I also really don't like leaving things. I never leave things.
There's a power to it. The older I get, I'm like, it's powerful to walk away from something that's not even just not giving you anything, not contributing to your life, but actually taking away from your life.
I know, but I like to get the full picture.
I know, I do too.
Then I can like at least talk shit about it. You know what I mean?
This and Amelia Perez were the two things I bounced on in recent memory. And honestly, if I had to watch this again or Amelia Perez. Half a star. It's not a film, it's torture. Vain, empty, and shallow, like the director himself.
Wow, that review. Did you write that?
Can we be friends?
Did you write that?
Another half a star.
Oh, you're still going. Okay.
An excruciatingly long and nauseating mess. Part 1 is repetitive and meaningless, followed by parts 2 to 3 with their overly pretentious manifesto-like approach that momentarily states the obvious with an abundance of clutter. Part 4 brings it full circle, combining the worst of the previous parts while dialing up the shock. I understand why it may appear impressive and hypnotic to some, but to me, it fails just as hard as it tries. Totally agree. One last one.
Oh my God.
Half a star. I could record myself suffering from diarrhea into a rusty bucket on film, hire some drunk Frenchman to ramble dialogue about meaning and violence and power and experience, stretch it out to 3 hours by looping 15 minutes of footage, and it would have, at minimum, 3.8 on Letterboxd, probably 4. Wow. I'd rather watch that movie. That's what talk about. This is shit. This is fucking horse shit, dog shit, every kind of shit. This is, as a friend recently wrote on a Letterboxd review about a movie, this is poop from a butt.
Oh my gosh.
I hated this. Every moment of it. It makes me not even want to watch any Godard that I haven't seen because I'm just so over this fuck and everything he stands for.
I really want to watch Alphaville.
You know what's funny? I have Alphaville.
Do you like it?
I've never seen it.
Alphaville, I feel like, is the one big one I haven't seen. I really want to see it.
I haven't seen that. And I haven't seen A Woman is a Woman.
Oh, that one's good.
And I haven't seen
a musical.
I haven't seen the dance one, Band Apart or whatever.
You haven't?
No.
I think you'd like that one. I'm not just saying that. I think you'd like it.
I don't know.
No, really.
But the thing is that more time that goes by, I like Breathless less and less too. And that kind of seems to have a Breathless, like cool movie characters that know their movie characters vibe.
Yeah, but they're kind of dumb. Like they're not like him. I feel like in Breathless, Belmondo's like, he's still cool. Like I feel like the guys in Band Apart
are lame.
They want to be movie characters so bad, but they're goons essentially.
Well, he's my most hated director.
Ever?
No. My most hated revered director.
Okay.
I hate him.
What are we doing?
May we never do another Godard on this show. God damn it.
Well, if we do the 250 list, I'm sure.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, you're right, I think. Next week, we're returning so soon to the world of Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, so
for
delightful.
North by Northwest. And again, just through the magic of ping pong.
Which I believe there was a clip in this as well. I should have written that down. Make that 30.
One?
Where did I write this down? Make that 36.
Wow.
I'm so excited. I love North by Northwest.
Yes. Thank God, honestly. So yeah, come back next week for some more Hitchcock.
Our inbox is going to be flooded.
Oh yeah, please. If you love this film, Histoire du Cinéma, let us know. You won't be right, but just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, but we always welcome people with opposite views, or if you agree with us, let us know.
Yeah.
So yeah, come back next week for North by Northwest. Until then, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Seen and Heard is an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to drop us a line, you can find us on email at hello@seenandheardpod.com or on Instagram @seenandheardpod.